Good morning and welcome back to Coffee with Toffees, guys. It is October the 3rd, first thing in the morning, and you are stopping by. And I actually, we're doing a unique recording today. We started early so that we could get What Is Hip, our guest, in here today a little bit ahead of time, but you guys are getting the podcast at the normal time, so should be totally fine. But if you stopped by the Twitch and didn't see us on, that's what happened. You know me. You can find me at Toffees_Dota2. You can find the podcast on iTunes as well as SoundCloud. And, of course, if you want to support the show, Patreon.com/Toffees is how we're doing this thing. We're keeping it grassroots. We're chasing off the sponsors. And it should be, I think that's the way it should be because it's content for you guys. So support, help us keep it that way, and it's good to go. Now, that said, I've got a special guest today. His name is Greg Laird. Some of you might not know that. What you will know is that he goes by Whatishiptv, or just What Is Hip when you're chatting with the man. He's from the Boston area, just a stone's throw from where I live. He's the head of HGTV. He's a man, he's a myth, and he is, in many ways, a legend. How are you doing today?
I'm doing quite well. I'm ready for Friday. I'm ready for the weekend, and ready to have hopefully a little bit of a relaxing weekend. It's been crazy these last couple of weeks.
Absolutely. It has been incredibly crazy. So it's been really busy. I know that you had a long night last night, for instance, when you had to do the you were doing filling in over on BTS when they had some issues with their connections over there, ironically enough, as I've been having today, and had to fill in. So did that start the day off? Did you have a lot of cast to do after that?
Today I did not cast. I also have a full-time job, so I was up till like 4:30 last night, and then I went to work at 8 a.m. So that's always an adventure, but I'm mostly casting like NA primetime at night and on the weekends, sort of at all times right now.
Awesome. So that is a busy day, lots of work, and we'll talk a little bit about that when we get into the interview phase of the show. But let's start out with what a lot of you guys are here for, is the updates and the things you need to know about your Dota. So pro news starts out. The first thing we're going to talk about is we made a report on Wednesday. There was a couple of comments picked up that Mag may be leaving Empire. We got a tweet that came out earlier today, so actually it was early yesterday, and it was from Alexander Solomonov, and he says, "Dear esports, Mags didn't leave Team Empire. It was a misunderstanding at the resolution interview. We're trying to find ourselves." So I don't really know what we're trying to find ourselves means. Now, granted, this was an English language tweet, so maybe there might be some lost in translation sort of stuff there. Do you have any ideas, or what do you think finding ourselves means when you talk about Empire?
Sounds like they've got some internal issues that they're still working out. Beyond that, I don't know. I don't know too much about a lot of these Russian teams in specific, like I do a lot of the NA teams, but sounds like they've got some internal issues that they're working on.
It does. So just wanted to be clear with you guys, Meg's not out necessarily. We're going to wait and see where that goes. The next big piece, and the last piece of big pro news to talk about, is Blitz blog. So Blitz, you probably know him from Team Zephyr. We've talked about how Sexy Bambo left the team and published that back on Wednesday. Blitz released a blog on Thursday, and it was pretty interesting. So what I did is I pulled up a little quote from it for you. You can find it if you just go on Reddit and type Zephyr. It's the newest article on them. It's the fastest way to find it instead of Googling everything. And it says, basically, Bambo told us he no longer wanted to play and felt Tier 2 was a waste of time, so he decided to leave. With Ben leaving and Bambo gone, we felt Kevin should play with us once again, and we're currently working on finding a fifth. Nobody really wants to play Tier 2, but due to us winning MSL, a part of the contract stipulates that we play out the end of the year, and so that's what we're going to do. Everyone keeps telling us on Reddit or some shit that we should go home, but I don't think they understand that we can't. So there's a couple of big things in here. One, it means that Ben is leaving, so we know that Merlini should be coming home to BTS here in the near future. It sounds like he's done with his run over at Zephyr, and it sounds like Kevin is going to be making his way back in, so just maybe to help out finish up. But I think the moral that I take away from this one is don't put your rares on Zephyr for a while, because they're going to be playing, but they're not really playing for anything based on the blog that was posted. I mean, does this sound... this is the thing about esports, right? You sign these contracts, and you're required to play out even though team changes may come down. But, where does that put the sponsors? I mean, essentially this post, and I could be reading it wrong, says that we're pretty much done, guys. There's not much we can do to be competitive. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much, that's a fair statement. But I think I wouldn't be surprised to see the Zephyr brand continue with, I mean, outside of Korea. It's a pretty powerful brand. Blitz has become pretty big, like, media, sort of an ambassador for Dota with the noob stream. Kevin, of course, has some of the biggest reach of anyone in the Dota community. So it's pretty easy to build a brand around those guys. And even if they, don't stay in Korea or whatever, maybe there's opportunities for them elsewhere. But yeah, you're totally right. Ben's coming home after ESL, so I think he's coming back for ESL and he's staying. So.
There you go. So Ben's coming back, guys, for all of you who have been asking. I think there was actually a post today on Reddit that was like, where is he? So there you go. So Zephyr, look for interesting things. There's a lot of up-and-coming teams that Zephyr can move to, a lot of people that they can pull from. So they're not down and out, but for a while it may be rough. All right, let's talk about... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I mean, there's a couple of really top-notch players on that team. Like, Corey will be able to find a home pretty much wherever he wants. He's pretty incredible,
So I don't think that the individual players will have any trouble. I'm just curious how the Zephyr organization is going to feel about it. But this isn't a show about organizations, it's a show about community. And the players who we care about seem like they'll land on their feet. Now, tournament news is the big one. There's so much that's been going on. First and foremost, BTS has announced the Beyond the Summit 2 tournament to take place at their house in LA. It's a $100,000 tournament. They release compendiums, couriers, items. Oh my. Essentially, pretty much anything that you could ever want to have to do with a tournament, they're bringing it. They're bringing back that old laid-back, let's have a couch and some cats format that was very popular last time around. But their website is down, so I'm not going to motivate you in that direction until it's taken care of. That said, it's on the way. Big tournament, 4 regional qualifiers, lots of casting, lots of fun. All the pros are getting flown out on the BTS tab, which I thought was really cool. And it should be a pretty good tournament. So look for that. Look for the new items. The new courier is pretty neat. But we're not going to go too deep into that. Is there any insights that you have about this tournament? Greg, I know that you have worked with BTS a little bit in the past and might have a feel for what to expect out of this thing.
Yeah, we worked with them a little bit on sort of looking at the NA teams and figuring out who they invite. So again, for the summit, they're going to have a pre-qualifier to sort of get some of those tier 2 teams in with the bigger guys from their region to then have a sort of online play-in. And I think the biggest difference this year for the viewers is that the online is stretched much more. Last year, the summit, the online portion was not that big. This year, it's going to be, I guess this season, it's going to be much larger.
Okay. So it's going to be interesting to see, because there's been a lot of talk right now about BTS being able to cover the contracts that they have. And 4 regional qualifiers scares me a little bit, because I want that BTS quality that we're used to. But they have a lot on their plate, so I'm really curious to see how that goes. Also, glad to see that they have their website running right now. Something that was always woefully hard to find was, VODs without having to go to the YouTube and search everything individually. So they're expanding, and I like what they're doing with the operation. The BTS Summit Tournament, I think, was way bigger than they expected it to be the first time around, and very, very popular. So I'm excited to see them bringing back this sort of casual style of Dota that could be a lot of fun to watch. The number 2 tournament to talk about right now is WCA. Day 1 just wrapped up. We're actually starting Day 2 right now as we record this. For those of you who are listening to it on the podcast in the morning, Day 2 will have wrapped up at that point. Day 1 was interesting. It was plagued with disconnects, internet loss, and basically the survival of tournament coverage was only made possible by a squadron of step-up casters, a bunch of casters who knew that BTS was in trouble and were able to just stay awake, step up, and cover the cast. I know that Blaze and you, actually, Greg, were the first ones to do it. You guys jumped on, covered the first couple of rounds, and then it became sort of like this merry-go-round of who's available, get them on the stream. We had like Shivar come through there. I fell asleep after that, so I'm not sure who else made their way through, but I know that there was a ton of casters, and the big one that I want to mention is I talked to Blaze before he passed out today, and I think he said he had done about 28. He had been up for about 28 hours, give or take, doing casting during almost all of that. So he has had a very long day. Jumped in with you and just made sure that things kept running. I think even when he wasn't casting, he was behind the scenes coordinating because the BTS guys had no internet at their house. They were doing what they could through their phones, but it's a tough way to coordinate a tournament through your tiny little Skype on your screen. So great job to Blaze. Props to him. I know he got a lot of flame recently on Reddit, but if you are those flamers, just think, man, what a guy to step up and make sure that you got to see WCA English coverage. Otherwise, there would have been a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah. I mean, basically, the internet went down, and obviously me and Dakota are really, really good friends. So I texted him, and I said, is the internet down, like, indefinitely? And he said, yeah. So then I called LD, got the stream key, booted up the stream. Nice. And did a little cast with Blaze. And the games ended up actually being really good. So
yeah, I got to watch a couple of them.
The Terrorblade games from Envy were just insane. So
that's ridiculous.
I mean, I can definitely say that, you know, we're pretty good friends with BTS, and I would certainly not do that for everyone, but they had, you know, they were in trouble. There's not really anywhere else to say it. They didn't get internet back till like 12 o'clock today or something.
Yeah, it was incredibly late. I mean, they were even Synergy and some other tournaments need to be covered as well.
They like ran into Star Ladder issues as well, so it's pretty unfortunate for them. But it started out as an area outage. I think they had some more complications as well. So
it is. I think it does say a lot, though, to the studio, for those of you who are fans of BTS, that when they got in trouble, a lot of casters were willing to step up with no real guarantees of anything to come back towards them to say, you know what, we're going to help you out and make sure this thing runs. So it speaks well to me of the studio that so many folks are willing to step in. Now, as far as the actual tournament is concerned, round one is pretty much done. So Newbie and Cloud9 advanced out of round one, and they just played each other, and I believe Newbie beat Cloud9, knocked them down to the loser's bracket. So Alliance VG should be starting in about 20 minutes from now. It'll be done by the time that you guys listen to this, so we don't know what that result is. And then down the loser's bracket, Navi, LGD, and TMIG will be played today. So that's where the brackets stand on the end of day one. Day two should be a lot of fun. We'll talk about some of those picks a little bit later. Next tournament to know about, Bounty Hunter Series, the Empire versus VP Polar, is going to take place Wednesday. They tried to do it a little bit earlier, and it got DDoS attacked, and they had to cancel and reschedule. This is a $1,000 grudge match. It is going to be, I think, a best of 3, if I remember correctly, for $1,000. So if you want to see a tournament where there's literally, a game where there's a wad of cash on the table on two teams that I think are fairly evenly matched up, check that out on Wednesday.
Yeah, I really like these formats. I think they're fun. They are. Best of 3 or best of 5. Winner takes it all. I don't know. It's just a fun little one-off thing, you know. I'm a big fan of this format. I want to do something like this.
Absolutely. It's fun. You know, it's a great draw. You know everybody's going to come see it or watch the VODs because both teams are playing their hearts out. Yeah. Unlike when you watch a league where, you can tank some games because you're ahead or whatever. This doesn't have that. This is just play to take home the cash, and if you win in 2, you just made, $1,000 in 2 hours. So awesome. MPGL has made a big announcement, guys, that on November 29th, there will be a major tournament in 2014. This is in the Philippines. It's going to be a grand prize of 1 million Philippine pesos. That sounds amazing until I tell you that it's $22,000 USD, which is still a pretty gosh darn good prize, and it's record breaking for the Philippines and one of the top tournaments now in the SEA region. So we don't have rosters as of yet, but that's growth in that region of SEA, which hasn't had massive tournaments too much in the past. And to piggyback onto that, Thailand, I don't even know the name of it. All I know is the Thailand gaming group just announced a LAN final, or a LAN that has $14,000 in prize pool for SEA. So that is almost $30,000, almost $38,000 in prizes that have just come up overnight in SEA for the Dota 2 scene. And this is a region that, I don't know if you follow SEA too much, Greg, but they've got some good teams that just haven't really had the funding or support to get to the next level. And I think that this is a sign that the SEA is starting to embrace competitive esports, and we may see some of those teams that struggle to keep up with the European groups maybe getting that bolster, that injection that they need to become world players.
Yeah, I actually have a little bit of info about this tournament. I can list off a couple of the teams if you'd like.
Absolutely.
I think I know a couple of them. First Departure, Titan, Malaysia, and Mineski are going to be some of the invited teams. There's a small possibility we're going to be casting that tournament. That's about all I know.
Nice.
So,
That'll be great.
I mean, the thing about the whole Southeast Asian scene is, it's completely different than here or in Europe in terms of living costs, like everything. So this is a lot of money for them, and it's hard for these SEA teams to sort of compete, honestly, because the internet is just not very good. Like the infrastructure is not good. The fiber lines are saturated between Thailand and Singapore, which make things really inconvenient for them. But I really like the SEA tournaments, and if you've ever met anyone from Southeast Asia who's into Dota, they are like the biggest fans on the planet. They get real excited. It's awesome.
Whenever I've covered an SEA games, the fans come out in droves and support. And you got to wonder if the creation of New Team Malaysia, the reformation of Orange from TI3, I guess, or TI2 is the best way to put it, has something to do with these prize pools sort of coming out. I mean, this is going to be a big team. Having them come back, they're a huge draw. The fans know them and love them. The sponsors know that those tournaments are going to get watched. Do you think that has something to do with the prize pool, or do you think this would have happened independent of the reformation of that team?
It's definitely, I think it's independent, but having a team that big is a huge bolster to that scene.
Excellent. So quick touch on ESL 1, just so you guys know, the draw is out for the ESL 1, which is happening. Mathematics, not my high point, not this weekend, the weekend after. And the first round of games are going to be Cloud9 versus Sneaky Nick's Assassins. So Sneaky Nick's is going to have their hands full. Can they win? Yes. Especially against a team like Cloud9 that can have their cold days. Sneaky Nick's is a team that generally has some pretty good stuff and thinks outside the box. So that should be a good game. Sneaky Nick's can advance to the next round, but they will be going in as the underdogs. The second game of the day is going to be Alliance versus EG. If you had told me Alliance versus EG 8 months ago, I would have said possibly game of the tournament. Now I'm not so sure. EG should be able to advance without too much trouble, but Alliance looks like they have been training their butts off. I've been following Kelly on Twitter and seeing kind of like what their training regimen and what they've been doing looks like, and it looks like they've really put a lot of work in to get ready for this tournament. So I'm excited about seeing them. Na'Vi versus VG is going to be the third game, and that's going to be a doozy. And then Team Secret versus Na'Vi US is going to be the fourth set of games. So Team Secret should advance on that one. And the losers bracket, I think, will be really kind of almost more fun for me to watch in a lot of ways until we get to the finals, because those teams that are going to potentially get knocked out are very evenly matched and should make for a really good slugfest out of that losers bracket.
Yeah, I think it's actually single elim. I think
oh, you're right, because it's only a 2-day tournament. I forgot about that.
So every match in this tournament is like a huge deal. And the first round, there's some huge games. I mean, I think you could probably argue that a lot of these teams, Na'Vi and Alliance, are sort of just shells of how good they were when they were winning internationals. But there's still some enormous teams in this tournament. Secret team has been like just unstoppable in like the last couple of weeks. It's been unreal. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'll be going. So.
They've been on fire. Cloud9 has been really on fire. They finally got their first major win. We actually talked about them on the show a couple of weeks ago because they've had something like 9 second-place finishes this season and only 1 first-place finish. So I think ESL 1 looks like another chance for them to step up. And the 1 first-place finish, I should say, they got, EG wasn't there. So this is another chance that I think EG and Cloud9 can go head-to-head and really have a chance to say, we took the first place and we got past EG. So it's going to be a lot of good. That game that really makes me feel bad for someone is the Na'Vi VG first round draw, because that means both of those teams came a very long way for this tournament, and one of them is going to get knocked out right away, and that's always got to burn just a little bit.
Yeah, that definitely hurts.
So let's talk. We got Greg here. Let's talk to Greg about Greg and the life of Greg. First thing I want to talk to you about, Dota Pit. We've seen some of the tweets and the Reddit stuff about it. This is the second season of this tournament. Now, the first season was kind of quiet. A lot of folks didn't know about it. It had a lot of decent European teams, mostly Tier 2. This tournament this time is massive by comparison, like $75,000, top 8 teams in the world, sort of massive. How did that happen?
This tournament's had a lot of. It took a long time for the organizers to sort of get together all the sponsors for this. The sponsors are huge, and then they started reaching out to a couple other people who sort of helped them organize the tournament from there because they haven't really had too much experience when it gets this big. So, for example, Elaine from Twitch and myself have been doing a lot of the planning for the tournament. I invited all the teams.
Nice.
So it's been sort of a long process. Originally, we were just going to be the broadcasters for this tournament, but it's sort of escalated, doing a lot more now. But I'm really happy so far with how this tournament turned out, with the teams we've got invited. Every single team that we invited accepted, except for Navi EU. So I'm really happy with the way the tournament's turning out. And if you guys have bought the ticket already, it's not updating in game, but that will increase the prize pool, and I've been told that will be fixed tomorrow. So
awesome. So it'll increase the prize pool. The money's there, and I can tell you guys, if you haven't bought the ticket yet, the lineup is superb. This is literally going to be some of the best teams in the world. So this is going to be a great tournament. It's going to be massive. HGTV has the headline on it, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the biggest headline that your studio has had to date, correct?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this tournament's pretty huge for us, honestly. It's sort of the hype after TI.
Right.
Dakota obviously has been proving himself as one of the best casters in the scene. Travis has been getting a lot of love as well, and I think this is sort of our coming out tournament. So it is a really long format. It's 2 months long.
Yeah.
So I've been working a lot with the graphic designer to try to figure out a way that we can really make sure the storyline makes it through, because something that happens sometimes is these tournaments just get lost in the jumble of other tournaments, and that's something that I really don't want to happen with Dota Pit. So it's definitely one of my priorities.
Absolutely. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge, and I think that if you can do that, not only will it be a great coming out for HGTV, but it'll set the tone for a lot of other tournaments. Because even with a major name like SLTV right now, the Starladder games about midway through tend to get lost in the grind. There's just so much Dota going on. So excited to see that going on. I'm really excited to hear about how big it got and that you guys are so involved with that.
Prize pool is huge. It's like probably one of the biggest online tournaments.
Oh, absolutely.
$5,000. It's enormous.
Yep.
So
For not having a LAN, it's huge, and it's
only.
And it's going to grow. It's got a good set to it. I wouldn't be surprised to see it break the 100,000 mark easily. So I'm excited about it. We'll keep you updated, obviously, on the show, guys, during the tournament roundups on what's going on with it. So a great place for you to catch your news on how these tournaments are progressing is here, obviously, on the morning show, and we'll always pick a game for you to watch if you're limited on time. So that's one of my biggest concerns for our folks or our fans who don't have time to consume the copious amount of Dota available to them, is finding the good distilled way to do it. So summaries, that's what we live for here. Let me ask you this. Around the Fountain is a new show that you've been doing with the guys from HGTV and random guests who pop in for the day. Is this basically Chat Wheel 2.0? Or what brought you guys around to choosing to do sort of a reboot or a new mod instead of a classic that folks tuned into like Chat Wheel?
So the way this started is actually, it's pretty bizarre. The show is hosted on fountaindive.com.
Right.
And fountaindive.com is a sister site for iHeartU. So the people that own iHeartU own Fountain Dive. They also own SC Dojo and ThinkMind or something. Richard Lewis's new website. I don't remember the name of it. But it's a big sort of network of sites, and he contacted us to see if we wanted to do this show, and sort of on the terms that all we have to do is get a guest and we do the show. So we just decided it was a good opportunity. It's pretty easy for us.
Nice.
Me, Dakota, and Travis love hanging out and talking to each other. So it's really easy for us, and Dakota has actually done an amazing job hosting. So it's just something that sort of popped up, and we said, sure, sounds like fun. It's not a lot of work for us. For me, that's a big thing because my time is extremely stretched right now. So it's just, I don't know, it's just fun. I don't know how long we're going to do it for. There's some other plans for the website. We'll see if they sort of come to fruition.
So to jump on that, you've tweeted a little about new shows, upcoming things. Is there anything in the works, whether it's show-related or website-related, that you can share with us to help us get excited about what's coming down the pipeline for HGTV, or are we still hush-hushed about it all?
Well, for us, I mean, for our website, we're again looking into sort of revamping our editorial section again. I don't think there's enough good writing in the Dota scene, like not news. I don't care. I mean, I don't really care about news. I go to Reddit for news. There's not enough good analysis. There's not enough good editorials. So we're going to be devoting some time and money to trying to make that a little bit better. And as far as shows go, I have a lot of ideas sort of cranking around. I think an opinion-based show, sort of like, like a sports radio show, could be really interesting if you get the right personalities. There's a lot of potentials because it's kind of crazy. When you look at like League of Legends or StarCraft, the community shows gets like just huge attention. And in Dota, these community shows have never really taken off. And part of it, I think, is just there's never really been consistent scheduling, and that definitely comes down to just how crazy Dota is, and the way that the tournaments get broadcasted is a lot different. So, I think there's a lot of room for community shows, and I have a lot of ideas about them. So I think probably, I don't really have a timeline, but within the next month or two, we'll probably have 1 or 2 new shows.
Awesome.
Beyond that, I don't really know.
Fair enough. So there's stuff in the works. HCTV, not just going to be tournament broadcasting, bringing more content to the viewers, which I think is nice.
The content, I think, is the key. It's it's not like, it's not the Reddit front page. It's like content. Like, we're not going to be publishing 3 or 4 articles a day. We're going to be publishing 2 or 3 articles a week, but they're going to be meaty. They're going to be really, really good, and that's sort of my goal with that.
I like that because I think the existing studios, and we can all agree with this, they do good news coverage, but we don't see fresh content shows or featurettes. I mean, even Bruno's new sort of webcam show was interesting, but it's not as in-depth, I think, that you guys want to maybe go, or you have been with, say, things like Around the Fountain. So I'm excited to see what you put out on the website. I think all of our fans are excited about that. So let me move to something a little less future-oriented, a little more past-oriented. I was told, or I read an interview, that your university gave you an internship to focus on esports. I put a big WTF after I read that. So that's cool, and I don't want to go too much into that. Now, are you allowed to tell us what university that is? So that
I go to Northeastern in Boston. I'm sure they would be more than happy for me to share that.
Fair enough. So for all of you who are thinking about esports careers and you want an internship, maybe do check out the admissions office. It sounds like a very flexible school, and that's pretty cool. Now, to follow up on that, I read an interview that you did with Malnor a little while ago, and he asked about this sort of sabbatical internship that you're doing for esports and said, what's it going to take to have you go from student who does it for funsies to sort of a full-time pursuit of this thing? And your answer to him is, if I booked a massive tournament or a LAN, I would move into potentially a career situation. So, Dota Pit, we talked about it, $75,000, massive tournament. Does this mean, is this the catalyst? Are you going career, or what's the story for What Is Hip?
I have no idea, to be honest. I actually really like my job right now, which is really probably bizarre. I have 1 more semester at Northeastern, but the way it works there is we do 6-month internships, 3 of them before you graduate, and it takes 5 years to graduate instead of 4. So I have an internship right now that I really, really, really like. But if there was a good opportunity or a good offer, I would almost certainly consider it extremely strongly. I mean, I love esports, and it's not just the games, but the people that I've come to know in esports are like some of my best friends now. So
absolutely,
it's possible. I don't know. I mean, Dota Pit is a good stepping stone for us, but we need more of this to really be able to sustain that. Obviously, the dream is starting some sort of actual studio,
right?
With physical, and me, Travis, and Dakota live fairly close together, so it's not that big of a deal distance-wise, but I don't know. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. It's just, you got to be really careful because for me, and this is kind of a whole separate topic, a whole nother can of worms, but there's a lot of people in esports that are extremely new, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but they're really, really inexperienced. And I think there's something to be said for having a really good set of marketable skills and then going for, one of those huge companies that, actually need that sort of thing, like your ESLs, like your EG, like good game agencies. So I don't know. I'm not. I really have no idea. I mean, I love working with High Ground. I love working with everyone there. But the reason I started High Ground wasn't really for myself. It was more for Travis and Dakota to have better opportunities and to get a chance to kind of go full-time esports.
So do you have a 5-year plan for HGTV, or is it sort of HGTV is a springboard, like kind of almost like, it sounds like it's almost like an incubation startup program for you guys?
It's possible. I mean, the thing is I don't think, I mean, oh, this is going to sound bad, but I don't think the other studios are doing a good job with a lot of things. Like, there's a lot of opportunities there. In terms of the way they run their studio, in terms of the way that they run their business. I'm a business major, so it's something that I think about like all the time. My current job is basically strategy consulting, so it's something I think about all the time. And I'm not really sure that we want to, be like dissolved by or absorbed by another company or something.
Right.
I really like High Ground. I really like sort of the brand and what we stand for. But 5 years is a hard thing to think about in esports. I have like a 1 year idea in my head, which is rough, and then I have a 6-month idea, which is a little bit more defined, and then I have a 2-month idea, which is finishing Dota Pit. So
Nice.
You've got to take it in steps, and the biggest thing is that you have to get yourself opportunities, though. You have to really put yourself out there, and in esports you have to work really hard to make that happen. So you just gotta do stuff a lot, connect yourself a lot, go to a lot of events, meet a lot of people, and sort of just see what happens.
So I'm going to deviate from our the questions that I sent you and throw this one at you. Does this, and I think you're a good example of it, signal a change in esports? Because what we're seeing now, okay, previously the larger studios that we know about, a lot of the casters and hosts who are out there, got their start because they played the game and know a lot about it, and just started sort of talking about it to people or doing YouTube videos. Now we see this sort of evolution of the esports player, right? So you're now an esports player who's coming out with a business degree. We've got casters who have acting degrees. We've got people who have had training specific to what they're trying to do in esports. Is this going to revolutionize the way that esports is done? Is it going to maybe cause some static or some difficulty for the old guard who hasn't actually had that background, who maybe hasn't had business training and is still trying to run a competitive business against startups that have?
I mean, it's hard to say. I think on the one hand, a lot of the people who have been in esports for a long time are sort of at the point where they're experienced enough that they can, they can keep things chugging. But I'm more interested in sort of innovation and, trying to figure out things that you can sort of change the space with. And I don't know. I mean, I think that as the prize pools gets bigger, as the viewership gets bigger, there's a lot of people in esports that are honestly extremely incompetent, and I think that they will be replaced with people who are competent. So it's just sort of growing pains. Esports used to be you play for a bottle of beer, you play for a 6-pack or whatever, and now it's you play for $11 million. So obviously there's going to be a transition.
The transition to professionalism is going to be a reality. So all those who are watching or thinking about up and coming or starting tournaments or businesses, keep that in mind, that the landscape is changing. Be ready for it. So
the other thing, just if I could add on to this,
absolutely,
something that is sort of important to me is I think that having marketable skills is going to be more important as you continue forward with esports, outside of just I volunteered for 2 years or whatever, or things like that. So if you're sort of a smaller caster or anything like that, and you're considering trying to go full-time or something, I would say strongly consider your options and try to just make it work without sacrificing a steady source of income. Because for me, my steady source of income is what lets me sort of go do all this stuff in Dota, because I don't have to worry about the money as much. It's more just trying to grow our brand and stuff like that. So like Travis stopped college. I was not a proponent of that decision, but for him it's sort of worked out. But I don't know. I mean, just don't go crazy, and I think you can make it work. For me, it was a result of I just don't really sleep as much now. I only sleep like 4.5 to 5 hours a night usually. So
I find most of the popular content makers only do about 3 to 4 hours a night.
Yeah,
so
it's not a lot of sleeping, but for me, it's completely worth it. All of it.
So to take away, guys, notes for yourself. If you want to grow and you're kind of joining the business, get professional. Don't get sleep.
You can make it work.
You can make it work, and if you need classes, I teach performance classes in Boston, so just give me a call, which is ironically true. So that said, let me ask you some questions that are a little less serious. A, if you could change your name from What Is Hip to anything at all, what would it be?
You know, the Gerg moniker, it's sort of near and dear to my heart. It comes from, there was a parody Twitter account, and the thing is that at that point it wasn't really a big thing, but at TI, Korok and Fog just started calling me Gerg, and it just became this thing.
Nice.
And then I accidentally showed my friends that picture of me in a cowboy hat. That is actually a picture of me from, I think, 3rd or 4th grade.
Nice.
So,
and then everybody ran with it.
Everyone ran with it. Now it's a Twitch meme, so I don't know.
Well, hey, if you're going to get a nickname from somebody, Korok and Fog aren't bad people to get it from.
It was an affectionate thing.
Yeah.
Gergen.
So potentially, Gerg, and I got to ask you on those lines, what's it feel like to have a Tier 2 team made up of some pretty boss players name their team in tribute to Greg Laird?
It's pretty funny, honestly. Bobby is one of the big driving factors. Beat is behind that. I did actually, I helped them out a little bit when they needed some equipment and stuff. I actually bought them some stuff, and I told them to refuse a sponsorship to keep Team Gerg alive. So with that, I had to buy them some stuff. And the promise was if they made it to ESL, I have to buy them jerseys. And unfortunately, they were eliminated, but looks like they still might be kicking around for the summit.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw their name on the list. I also saw well, JD had them listed as Zerg Squad, so I didn't know.
Yeah, that's wrong.
I had to dig in and figure out it was a typo. But yeah, because when I interviewed MSS, he said they were done. But
they were done, but now they got invited to the summit, so I think they're maybe alive again.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and it doesn't surprise me. When I talked to him, he sounded like he missed Pro Dota. And to be honest, they had some really big success, a lot more success in ESL than I think they thought they would. So they've got a good team. Why not run with it? So that's a good one. Current patch, simple answer, love it, hate it, jury still out.
I'm pretty lukewarm.
Lukewarm. All right.
I don't like how long the games go very often.
That is true. I will take that. Where is the meta going? If you had to come up with 2 sentences, 3 sentences to define the meta, what's it going to be?
4 Protect 1.
All right. I like that. So lots of Medusa, some Spectre return.
Terrorblade, Spectre.
Okay.
If Terrorblade is going to start getting banned first round. That hero
he has to. He has to. I was blown away when it released and he wasn't getting banned.
God, it's so gross. If you get time on that hero, he farms faster than almost anyone. It's disgusting.
It was ridiculous to watch that game. So that's where the meta's going. And last but not least, there's some things going around the Twittersphere. Confirm or deny, are you and Anchor Smash dating?
No, not at all.
All right,
we are Twitter friends. I played my first game of Dota with her tonight. It was great. We lost.
So you guys had your first Dota date. That's cute. No, I'm kidding. So for anybody who's listening, confirmed, not together. Lovely Twitter rumors. That's what we live for. Hey,
it's all on Phage, man.
You wanted more drama, so we got to create it.
Right. I did tweet I wanted more drama. I guess
So there you go. So as the show comes to a close, guy, we're gonna give you the picks of the day that we always do. Shows to watch. My picks for the morning, if you got a chance to, if you're looking for VODs, Invictus versus Team Malaysia should be a great game. Invictus, an established team that I say does pretty well fairly consistently up against Team Malaysia, which is a reboot of a very successful franchise led by one of the most prolific Dota players of our time. It's going to be a really good, it should be a really good game. If you'd missed that, if you want to watch something live, I think Complexity versus Power Rangers is a game where both teams are very evenly matched. Complexity trying to prove that they deserve to be part of this upper tier 2, tier 1 grouping, and Power Rangers trying to prove that they deserve to stay where they are. So that should be a pretty good game. What are your picks, Greg?
There's a couple for me. Of course, I have to go with one of our Dota pick games, Complexity versus Power Rangers, as well. The thing is that those are a series of 2, so you know what you're getting. It's 2-game series, 2 games between these teams, and I really like. Complexity has improved just an unbelievable amount, to be honest. They've gotten
it's amazing,
so much better. And then the other thing on here, we have D2CL. Navi US is playing Not Today. Not Today is a really fun team to watch. So Ready Smash is near and dear to my heart. So I'd be looking forward to that one as well.
That is true. That'll be good. And while we're on the topic, since we both picked them, we're still ironing out the details, but it looks like Z-Freak, the captain for Complexity, will be joining us here on Coffee with Toffees on Wednesday. So if you guys want to hear from them as they're going into Dota Pit, just doing so many tournaments right now, they're at they got invited to the BTS qualifiers. It's going to be pretty good, so stop by for that interview, guys. I appreciate you being here. Once again, if you want to support the show, head over to patreon.com/Toffees. Kick in whatever you can to help us keep the sponsors out so the show can kind of run at the leisure of the guests and some other things that have helped to make the show successful. Your support has been wonderful. I appreciate all of you who are watching. A big thank you to you, Greg, for being here today. Do you have any last words you want to say before we sign out for the morning?
Not really. You can follow me on Twitter at Whatishiptv. If you'd like to hear my ranting and raving. Sort of depends on how aggravated I am, how heated the tweets get, but the last couple weeks have been very, very, very stressful and extremely rewarding. So it's paid off, I guess, but it depends how salty I get.
Gerg tweets definitely worth following, if only to see the reactions that he gets from people. So the Gerg LD combo earlier this week was probably my favorite.
Okay,
it was amazing.
I'll have a brief explanation of this. Me and LD commiserate quite a bit. I yell at him for things that I get angry about, and then we just rant and rave about people that we get really upset with. Sort of some of those inconfident people I was talking about. And as a result, we also flame the living hell out of each other on Twitter. But we're good friends.
It went to a new level after Fountain Dive. It was pretty hilarious. It was like,
well, I think I said some pretty mean things about Beyond the Summit.
So, for those of you who don't know, they were doing the Around the Fountain. LD was watching. Gerg, I don't know, I think you were drinking, perhaps. But
that's true.
There were shots fired back and forth in Twitch chat. It carried over to Twitter, and it was just too much fun to read. So, it was one of those moments where I literally think I sat on my couch, paused my TV show, and kept seeing what was going on between the two of you because it was hilarious. So, definitely worth a follow. It'll make you laugh if nothing else. So check that out, guys. It's been wonderful spending the morning with you. All the uploads, all the podcasts should be available first thing for you to use, just like we always do on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we'll be back on Monday with a brand new show and a big tournament roundup because so much is going on this weekend. I probably will not have a guest on Monday so that I can simply spend that time letting you guys know what you inevitably missed because it's impossible to follow everything that is happening this weekend in terms of Dota tournaments. So thank you. Thank you again to Greg. Thank you to the fans. Have a wonderful day. And as always, guys, Toffees out.